Hello there, whippersnappers, and welcome to the first episode of Head in the Clouds Canon with OldieNoodle. Today we are at the Coastal Cottage settlement, which is where we have Grandma Iris's cozy cabin. So, without further ado, let's start our tour. So, here we have the lovely Grandma
the farm's
Iris.
Not much, but it's something.
Okay, thanks for that. Where are you off to? Having a stroll? Staring at me? Making me nervous? Let's give you some room, lady. So, Iris built this cabin with her dear husband Merv many years ago. Now Merv has since unfortunately passed away, so if we start over here, he has got a little grave. Iris will come out here, she'll still talk to him, leave him fresh flowers and remember him because she does miss him terribly. But she has recently had some new friends move into the settlement, so she's not quite so lonely anymore. We'll go and meet those later. But for now, let's go and take a look around her home. So coming up onto the porch here, it's fairly simple. There is a little barbecue area, all quiet out here for the time being, but if it's a nice night, she can cook some nice hot food and eat on her porch. Over this side, we've got some fishing equipment because we are right near the sea, and as you will see a bit later, we have got some hungry mouths to feed indoors. And then just her general little tinkering DIY station, because if you would like a house as nice as this, you do have to put some effort in. It does not maintain itself. I think it's about time we went indoors to have a look around now. So, as you first come in, there's this nice, cozy little porch area, umbrella in case the weather's bad, and a mirror because she always likes to be presentable when she's going out. She's got her little hat stand behind the door. And then coming round this way, this is how she likes to spend a lot of her time. She's got her nice little crafty zone over here. She's really into her sewing and knitting, as you would expect. So there's everything she needs. She's got her sewing machine, her knitting needles, all her fabrics and bits and pieces on the shelf, sewing tins, everything. And then this one, more general trinkets and necessities. She does like to have her dried flowers because it doesn't need to smell fusty and gross in your house, and they just keep it smelling nice and fresh. She's got her biscuit tin, and all sorts of other useful bits and pieces on her shelf there. And then coming round, we've got the cozy fireplace, which leads nicely into the sitting area, where she would used to pass the evenings with Merv. But now she is quite pleased that she's got new people she can invite in and entertain, because this tea set was not seeing enough use. And up here we've got all her books and games and all sorts of things for when she's had enough of her sewing, she can sit down and have a little read, listen to the radio. So that's her little living side of the cabin. And then coming round, we've got not a bad view by wasteland standards out of these windows. A few broken buildings, but if you sort of squint a little bit, it just looks like a nice landscape. And then there's the dresser to keep things clean and tidy, and a bin to put rubbish in, which many people of the wasteland seem to have forgotten about. And then we come into this well-used, well-loved kitchen over here. Oops, I'm stuck. Iris obviously loves her cooking. She's got all her pots and pans up on the shelf, and over here, snacks and supplies. Cleaning products, because it's still possible to clean. You can still keep things nice if you want to. And then she's got her little draining rack, and there's a bit of a towel shortage, so she relies on dish rags, but there is a towel rack if she ever finds a towel. And then all the baking equipment over here, so when Abe pops in to visit, there's always nice freshly baked goods, which we do have on the table at present, along with the fruit bowl. And then we've got this nice organised dresser with all the crockery. A spare walking stick, because the terrain here is a little bit rough and you can't be too careful. And then sneaky bit of alcohol for special occasions just under the table down there. So that is downstairs. And if we head on upstairs, we will find quite a nice little loft bedroom, although this is not really the loft. We'll look at that very shortly. So she's got lovely made bed, very cosy. And then all the pills and potions one might need as you enter the later years of life. And then she's got some nice, clean, pretty outfits. Although she does like her favourite pink dress. And then over here, we have got the cattic, if you will. The attic, the true loft. There are 5 cats. Are they all? Oh yes, there he is, hiding. All cats present and correct. That is unusual. They do like to spend time on the roof ordinarily. So, they've got their little cat zone up here. They've got cosy sleeping bags, somewhere soft to lay down. They've got these coarse pillows that they can scratch out their claws on. All sorts of toys and bits and pieces. Oh, Iris actually will come up here to play with the cats of an evening, and she quite often will just get cozy, lay down on a sleeping bag and fall asleep surrounded by cats. But that's fine, she's comfortable and they love her. And then they've got a bit of a smarter bed down here with a little chair where Iris can sit and talk to them and give them a fuss. That's about it for the cabin interior. So we can head back outside and go and meet the new residents. Iris has also managed to get some trees to grow out here, which is quite impressive because there's an awful lot of dead stuff. She's clearly got a bit of a green thumb. Heading over this way, Iris and Merv hadn't really done much with this. They quite liked it as a bit of a front, so anyone on the road down there would just look up and think, oh, it's just another blown up house, nothing left, not worth looking at.
Pretty good.
Thank you for that. Are you having a nice walk, lady? So, just recently, there was a travelling trader team of a brother and sister, and they saw these buildings up here and thought this might be a lovely place to try and fix up and settle down and make a permanent shop. So that's exactly what they're doing. Iris didn't mind because she was so lonely. They obviously asked her if they could move in on her land, and she gratefully accepted. So now she's got these fit, healthy young things that can help her out around the place. There is one of them. So this here is Tony. Hello, Tony. And in here, is she about? There's his sister, who is Tony, with an I. They didn't have very imaginative parents.
Huh?
Hello, Tony. So this shop is in its infancy. It's a work in progress. They have named it. It is called The Last Post. There's not much north of here, so anyone who is going that way off on an adventure or for any other reason, they can stop here, hopefully, and stock up on all the supplies they might need for a long journey. So Iris has actually knitted these fetching little outfits for the Tonys, and they kind of feel obliged now to wear them at all times. But I suppose it would give them a unique brand for their shop. They're certainly recognisable in these little get-ups.
Yeah.
So Tony with a Y is a bit more behind the scenes. He's responsible for tending the crops so they've got fresh food to sell, a bit of scavenging, make sure they've got plenty of stock in their shop, whereas Tony is the customer-facing element. Yeah, look at you posing on your stand. So eventually they would like to fix this house up as well, so they've got somewhere nice to live of their own. At the moment, they've got this little shack, which is like the equivalent, I suppose, of a mobile home in the garden while you're doing some DIY. Nothing much in here, somewhere to sit, somewhere to sleep, and they spend all their time working on getting this place fixed up. When they're not drinking tea and chatting with Iris, she does tend to
Farming's
pester them.
as honest work gets.
Yes, you do like your catchphrases. You have to go and talk to the Tonys again. Have fun. Right, so it is now beginning to get a little bit dark, and I do think it would be nice to have a look around here in the night time because it is very warm and cosy. Although there's one more thing we could just sneak round the back and have a look at. There was one thing missing. I do believe it might be occupied. Who's in there? Why, it's Deacon, who kept getting in the way and knocking things over, so he's been exiled to the toilet. You can stay in there and think about what you did. With the all-important sink, because hygiene standards matter. And with that, I think it's quite nice twilight dusky. We should be able to see the candles. You coming in? No, back to work. More tinkering. Oh well, we can go in and have a look round. Yeah, this place does become very inviting as it gets dark. In fact, we might even just have a very quick nap. Okay, so here we are back again, slightly darker, and you can really get the glow. There's no power in here.
My
Iris
back
and Merv,
hurts,
they were,
my feet hurt,
you know, crafty.
everything hurts.
You've been working so hard all day and wandering around non-stop. You have a seat. Yeah, no, they're good with their hands, crafting things, making things, building things, but not so much with the technical side. So generator maintenance, that would not be their strong suit. So they decided they'd go really old school, just really cozy. They don't need anything more than this. Perfectly happy. The Tonys have got a small generator, so they've got some working electric lights in their little setup, but nothing like that needed over here. We've got a little gas cooker, and all the light we need comes from all these beautiful candles and of course the fire. And I think with that, maybe we ought to leave Iris in peace. She's clearly going to sit down and do some knitting or sewing. And that's about all we have to show you for this tour. So we can head back outside. There we go. That doesn't look like too bad of a place to spend your time out here, does it? So next, I'm going to do a little segment very quickly. We'll call it just real talk. No more imaginary for a minute. We'll have a look at some of the elements in here. Pop the torch on. So, one feature I do really like.
Synths here to spy on me.
You know I'm not. One of the features I really do like is these square windows. They did take a little bit of work. I don't know if anybody could figure out just how they were made. We can go and have a look outside at them as well and just pick the pace up a little bit. Yo. There. So there's these panels that overhang slightly at the sides, but that's okay. It's a wood cabin. You don't expect everything to be perfectly straight. And then we've also got this neat little chimney on the roof. I don't know if we can get a better view from up here somewhere. Yeah, there we go. Nice little chimney. It does have an unfortunate downside, which we will go and take a look at. So, this angle, fine. Perfectly good chimney. All the way up. All the way up. Until... oh dear. Until you get to about there. Yeah. So what it was, the Nuka-Cola bottle, giant thing, it just looked perfect as the external chimney. So I installed that first of all, and it looked fine because obviously it's got a flat base. It was just a red cola bottle clipping through the ceiling. And then I was adding, these are file cabinets just turned around. And I think I was probably just a bit too close, somewhere like this, just lining them all up. At no point did I actually step back to have a proper look until it was too late. I did really like how the textures came together. It looks kind of interesting and a bit funky with these little spikes up here. So yeah, I got these all nicely lined up. Really, really proud of it. I didn't notice until this whole place was finished, and then it looks even worse in the dark. That is somewhat unfortunate, but yes, it's okay as long as you don't look up too much. These are just the small bookcases lifted up on the wall. A little bit fiddly to get them in line with each other, but not too challenging. Yeah, the kitchen, it looks like it's fairly simple, but that actually did take quite a lot of rugs and pillars and all sorts of things to get everything lined up and inserted properly. All these little bits and pieces on the sink. So I'm quite pleased with how that came out as well. So if anyone is curious about how any of these things were done, do feel free to ask and I'll try and explain, or maybe film a little tutorial of some description. Now this fireplace, it works for the space. I do really like it. However, it was by far the hardest thing in here to make. Put the torch back on a little minute. So this is filing cabinets, and they were just awful to work with. They really were terrible. Every time I thought I got it lined up, it just wasn't lined up. They didn't want to go anywhere. That was really challenging. I do like how it came out, but I have actually got a much larger fireplace. It's one of probably my favourite things I've built so far, and we'll have a look at that in a future tour. It's made of so many more elements than this one, and it was just so much easier to create. I think this is probably the one thing so far I've built that I nearly just gave up on and made a different plan, but I am quite glad I persevered because it's just the right size. So with that, I think we've had a good look at just about everything there is to look at here. So let's leave these people in peace. Head back outside. If you have enjoyed this in any way and would like to see some more, then do consider subscribing. Maybe give me a little like. That would really mean a lot, especially while this channel's just getting started. So until next time, thank you very much for watching. Take care of yourself, take care of each other, and it's goodbye from me for today. Bye bye.